You're listening to the Dr. Joe Show here with Dave Anthony. Now, Dave, we had, if you know the trans activist Eli Ehrlich, we had her on a few weeks ago, and I brought up the big fight that happened in Glendale with the
hmm
school boards, and there was Proud Boys. I think it was Patriot Front down there too. And you were
Tom,
in the
can you
thick
give
of
us
it, weren't it?
a bit more of a background of it? Because I think a lot of people might not
Yeah,
know
yeah.
the context.
So the school board in Glendale was
And
holding a
Glendale
vote
is
in
in,
California,
yeah, okay.
where it was a vote to recognize Pride Month, basically.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, like school was not in session. It was just, recognize Pride Month, opening shut. And this became a way bigger issue than it had any right to be, where there were protesters from all over, and not just like Proud Boys, but like Patriot Front. I believe NSC, a few people there from there,
hmm
just swarms the place. And there's video of them like punching parents and counter
hmm
protesters. It's like really scary stuff. And Dave was there in the thick of it.
I was indeed.
You were there,
It's it.
Dave.
I was there. Yeah, I was involved in it. I knew it was going to get violent, so I went down there expecting that.
Hmm.
It goes. It's funny. It like talking about what we were previously talking about. They're this is astroturfing. They're being pushed and paid by larger forces. I'm in a parents group in Glendale. There's this guy Jordan Henry who's sort of the spearhead, sort of leading all this. He started during COVID. He started coming to board meetings, so they were all on Zoom, and he would start ranting about CRT or communism and other stuff, which had nothing to do with anything that we were talking about or dealing with in our schools. And he was not saying the name of the town correctly. He was calling it La Crescenta Glendale, which nobody does. You live in Glendale or you live in La Crescenta. You don't live in both. I mean,
Hmm.
you technically, if you live in, there is parts of La Crescenta that's in Glendale, but you just say La Crescenta. You don't say I live in La Crescenta and Glendale. So we were like, okay, this guy doesn't live here. Sure enough, we found out he lived somewhere else, in a town nearby, and kept saying, well, I'm going to move there and my kids are going to go to school there, and disrupting every meeting. Every meeting he's coming in and starting all this nonsense and distracting the meetings. And then he did move into the district and did not put his kids in the schools. His kids are in private schools. And this continued on and on. And then he started specifically attacking teachers by name. Uh, this is mostly when the anti-trans stuff really took off. And we had a fight at the school between groups of students, anti LGBT people, and then attacking a booth that someone had. So it was getting heated. And again, this is all started by this essentially one guy stirring it all up. He's not, and then he started having private meetings telling people how to attack, and has like a manual of how to do this. And someone got a hold of the basic points he's making, and they're from think tanks. They're from large organizations around the country. Then we started doing someone started doing Freedom of Information Acts on who was asking for Freedom of Information Act stuff. And we found out that it's organizations. Like there's one out of Michigan that's the Mackinac something, and they're a big right-wing group, and what are they doing asking for information about teachers and students in Glendale? So we're finding these different groups around the country, and it's just to stir up trouble. It's just to, at the end of the day, they want the public school money for private schools. A couple of them admitted it. One of them said online, if you just give us our $13,000 in taxes, we'll leave you alone. So we know what they're up to. So when this big day hit, and I started seeing Proud Boys are going to be coming down from Bakersfield and Fresno, and we have a very well-known fascist here, Tony Moon, who hits journalists in the street with the metal drink containers. Always out fighting on the street. And I saw that they were all going to be there, so I put on, I was in You Can't Tell Who I Am, because you don't want them to know who you are, because they're always taking photographs and pictures of you. That's what Nazis do. So if you're going to go to these things, I highly recommend you obscure who you are. And we went down there, and I knew a lot of parents were going down there and didn't know what they were getting into. So I was like what you would call Antifa, I guess, which just means I'm against fascism and I'm going to try to protect the people that are more innocent and naive of this situation. And they were trying to, so they had us blocked off between the two groups. Most of the parents from my district who are of the groups I'm in took over the meeting. So these people couldn't get inside because we had everybody there, every seat filled before they could get there. So they had to do all their stuff outside, and they were there for fights, and they would try to swing around the back of the groups. And of course you would watch it and you tell the police, hey, they're doing it. And the police wouldn't move. So we would have to move and stop them. And that went on for like an hour. And that's where you saw the fight, because they were trying to swing around to attack the parents from behind. And people like me were trying to stop them from doing that.
Stretch the canvas, rush with madness. Is it sadness or just a show?